Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Redk Live. I'm Tom Jeans, Head of Sales at Redk. We've had a little bit of a break over the summer, but we're back with a bang now. And a really important topic today, we're focusing here on workforce optimization and workforce engagement management, otherwise known as WEM or WEM. You may hear it called today as an acronym. And we've brought along a subject matter expert again. And today I'm joined by Bob Mulder, who's Head of QA Sales and Success at Zendesk. But Bob, that's an impressive title. Do you mind giving us a bit of a background to yourself and how you came into that role?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tom, and thanks for having me. Really happy to be here. And yes, I started actually working at Klaus, which is what Zendesk QA was called before. A small Estonian startup I joined a few years ago that grew into a giant in the QA space to the point where we were acquired by Zendesk just at the beginning of this year, and then quickly rebranded and called Zendesk QA today.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So certainly been in the field for quite a long time, and therefore probably best place to talk us through what we're focusing here on today, not only the quality management, but workforce management as well. But the first question I wanted to run by you is probably more of an overview, because really what we want to give people a sense of today is an intro to the subject, because it's probably not something that's talked about too much, particularly by a lot of our customers and a lot of people we speak to. As most companies are focusing on optimizing customer service, but investment around quality and workforce management to a workforce improvement tools are probably not as substantial in our experience. So, but both are probably quite key to achieving better customer service. So what are your sort of opinions on that thought process?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, for some context, this WEM is like a brand new category. If you go back 5 years, these tools didn't really exist, but it's stuff that every company is doing. Like they just happen to be doing it manually. They are scheduling their team. They are trying to find ways to improve and, review conversations. It's just this is most often happening in like cumbersome spreadsheets. And as it's become more important recently, those spreadsheets just don't work anymore. And, WEM does a bit of a disservice to this category because it's one of those boring acronyms where actually what's underneath is really exciting. It's at the forefront of this kind of battle for offering the best customer experience you can in the market. And products like WFM and QA are also some of the products that benefit most from AI. Well, I can discuss in a bit, how we're automating huge swaths of work that would have taken hours before, thanks to AI. And I think the reality is, for smaller companies, maybe the benefit isn't there as it is for bigger companies. As your team grows, but beyond like 10 agents, 15 agents, you start to lose control. There's just no way you can stay on top of everything in the conversations. And I think what companies don't really calculate is the true cost. As the team scales and you're trying to kind of keep on top of stuff, there's hours and hours of manual work that goes into scheduling your calendar for the team, or rescheduling if someone's sick, or trying to review conversations. And typically these hours alone pay for these solutions themselves. You kind of can remove all that work and that will pay for it. And to get specific for like QA, as you're trying to review conversations, what we see is it's really like this really frustrating process where a team knows it's important, and you spend hours trying to read through conversations or listening to phone calls, and at best you can listen to 3%. So the reality is 97% of what's happening out there with your team you're missing. So you are missing stuff, and it just doesn't give you confidence, in the way you're reporting, on the way you're making decisions. And the knock-on effect is then bad agent morale because you're not giving them good guidance. That you're having to pull them into shifts because you haven't scheduled properly, or you're not able to kind of reschedule automatically. So the pain is often more severe when you start sitting down and kind of adding up the hours and the risks involved.
Yeah, and fortunately, there is technology, as you mentioned, that helps the challenges faced by companies. And as this is, as you mentioned, fairly new in terms of concept, maybe not from in terms of a challenge, but certainly new in terms of concept of delivery. Could you comment on sort of what the technology side of things can bring to quality assurance, and where AI plays a force within that as well?
Yeah, definitely. And again, this is a very new offering from Zendesk. These were recent acquisitions, and we now have a robust kind of WEM offering. And the benefit is, if you're using Zendesk, these are now native, and you're a click away from unleashing AI power on your scheduling or QA. And for workforce management, there are basically two major parts of that. One is forecasting, which is a really difficult thing to do. Trying to look forward and using last year's data, looking at like peaks and troughs in the kind of user demands, customer demands. And now we've implemented AI there. At the click of a button, you effectively automatically forecast the demand that you're going to see. So you know how many people to have per month, and you can allocate them. So that, again, the time your team spends trying to work that out is practically reduced to nothing. And even more importantly, the need for overtime. So when you miss forecast and you're like, okay, damn, I need to now call extra people to bring them in, or I need to ask people to work overtime. That's really bad for morale. People don't want to work beyond their hours, and if you can avoid that, and with AI and this forecast, you really can. Again, like creating a schedule is really kind of boring work as well, like preparing a calendar for the team. Again, this is just one click of a button when you're using Zendesk WFM, and it's there. Everyone in your team sees what work they need to do. They're automatically being tracked as they're kind of going through conversations and tickets. So again, it's going from lots of boring work to nothing, so you can focus on more important things. And you can easily then track as well with WFM, like where people might be struggling. You know what an average time it takes to solve a certain task. If someone's spending 3 times longer on those, there's a coaching opportunity for you to go and identify why that might be happening. And then for QA, which is obviously the background I come from, we've been doing large language models for over 4 years. So we saw the kind of value of AI a long time ago. And we introduced Auto QA a while ago now as well. And Auto QA kind of does what it says on the tin. It reviews everything. So even if you're having 1 million conversations a month with customers, the AI will review all of them, which again is such a relief for teams who've been kind of struggling, where you're missing something, to have that peace of mind of like, okay, I have the full picture of all the conversations. I can see where the team's doing well, where they're not doing well, and go granular as well down to individuals. So instead of like trying to find issues or good things, the AI just points you in the right direction. And there's stuff like reviewing grammar, which you really don't want to be doing as a team lead. The AI will just take that away from you and do that for your team. I think that one of the coolest implementations of AI for QA is what we call Spotlight. And this is about finding those kind of needles in a haystack. So going beyond just scoring everything, because that's of course very valuable. But I want to know where customers are potentially thinking of leaving us. So we will spotlight churn risks. These are customers who've indicated, hey, they're so unhappy they might go to a competitor. Or conversely, like we also spotlight conversations where the agent has done an exceptional job, like gone above and beyond. And you can then use that as a kind of example to show the rest of the team. And then I would just end on the other very exciting implementation is around AI agents. I think we used to call them bots, and now they're too sophisticated, so we call them AI agents. But there's a lot of hesitancy, right, about employing them with your customers, because it's new tech. We don't really know how reliable they're going to be, and like hallucinations are still a thing. I don't know if you saw, there was that case a couple of months ago with Air Canada that they had to honor a discount code that one of their bots had made up, and so literally costing them their money. And again, like Zendesk QA, with the help of AI, we are automatically able to detect bots. We're automatically detect loop detection, that kind of thing. So if a bot starts going looping, we can identify that. So you can feedback and like improve your bots as well. And I think that's a direction we're going to see a lot more innovation in, as we're seeing a kind of shift to using more and more AI agents for kind of first line of defense.
That all makes sense in terms of a view internally. So the employee experience, maximizing the potential of the team that you have. But ultimately, a lot of the customers we speak to will say that the benefits really have to come from the customer experience. It's easier to make a business case from that perspective. So how do these tools help to build that business case to improve that customer experience as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I speak a lot about the short term, because as I said at the kind of top of the call, like that is often enough to pay for these solutions, right? Like the short term is about freeing up your team from that huge amount of like painful manual hours. and letting AI take over. So that is really the kind of short-term ROI, but that's not the reason we do it, right? The reason companies are doing this is because of this broader market trend where customer experience is now everything. Like the market is so sensitive now, this new generations to experience. I think, statistics I saw a couple of days ago show like 30-40% of people will look for an alternative if they had a bad experience. So you really need to offer that positive experience, and that's most easily to measure with CSAT, and that's ultimately the main thing that companies are looking to do with WEM, is increase their CSAT score. And if you're doing things right, if you're scheduling right, you're putting the right agents in to work at the right time, and you're making sure the conversations that they're having are the best they can be, you do see CSAT increase, and that's where your competitive advantage of the market increases, and you're more and more likely to turn your customers into advocates, and lifetime value increases. So that's the real longer, more midterm, long-term reason that companies invest. I think one thing I really like is the service recovery paradox. I don't know if you've heard about that, where if someone has a bad experience with a company, and it's going to happen, right? Something could go wrong with like the wrong size shoes being delivered. It's not the customer service person's fault. But the service recovery paradox is basically like, look, you've had a bad experience, but if you have a really good experience with customer service, so that person is like immediately attentive, understands the problem, ships you new shoes immediately with a discount code. The paradox is that you actually, though you've had a bad experience, the recovery process has turned you then into an advocate, and you see those people then promoting brand. WEM creates more opportunities for you to do things like that. Like the inevitable is going to happen, but it's how you react and how you deal with that. And with a good workforce management and QA solution in place, you can benefit from that more and more.
Fantastic. I just actually hadn't heard of that, so that's a really useful one for me to use as we move forward as well. And actually that leads me quite well to my next question. The proof is always in the pudding, as they say. So it'd be good to hear some success stories of companies that are already using WEM or WEM. Is there any of those that you can share specifically around quality management and workforce management as well?
Yeah, we have loads. I think a couple of the ones I like. One for QA is Liberty London, which is an iconic department store in the UK. More recently, also an online business. I think they've been around and they've been successful because they've been offering exceptional customer service for 150 years or so. However, like their whole online experience and offering customer service was very new to them. So it was a few years ago they realized that was kind of a gap. And they implemented QA to kind of start talking about that same level of exceptional quality in digital interactions as well. So they went full in on QA, full cycle, from identifying issues to using the coaching functionality and LMS functionality as well. And they saw a 2% increase in CSAT in the first year, which is a lot. Every percentage mark in CSAT for a company that size is a huge impact. And they're aiming for 90% this year. So really good trend there that they're getting there. And then on the workforce management side, I think one that we've spoken about quite a lot recently internally in our team is Tembisi. I probably pronounced that wrong, but it's a Brazilian company. They're the biggest bike sharing company in Latin America. So they're huge. And they have thousands plus agents. So it's really a big team. And before they started using WFM solution with Zendesk, they were using manual processes, so spreadsheets, and they were complaining that it was prone to errors and forcing people to work overtime, all the kind of classic stuff. And then after implementing WFM, their head of customer care, Gabriel Garcia, I think just saw a huge turnaround across the board. I think he mentioned he improved agents' efficiency by 75%. And increased the agent's performance from 25 to 44 tasks per person. So they're just enable them to be much faster and offer much better customer service. And then lastly, a WEM example. So a company who's kind of implemented both. This is a big bank in the UK. They just launched a fintech offering to kind of compete with Wise at the beginning of the year. And they actually implemented QA and WFM from before they even launched, because they knew like they're entering a very competitive landscape. They knew that they would win or lose based on how these first early adopters and customers experienced their support and working with them. And thankfully it's worked really well. It's also been a great early detection system for them because new products, features being rolled out very frequently. It works as like an early warning system as well if customers are complaining about stuff and bugs and that kind of stuff not working. So they've been very agile in adapting thanks to it as well. And it's been so successful that they've grown their support team by 300%, and they're outperforming all their growth plans with this new fintech solution. So that was a really good kind of case that we're tracking with both the solutions working together.
Fantastic. And I actually have a follow-up question for you on types of customers that you are generally seeing this work most for. You mentioned at the start those sort of 10 agents plus are going to find the most benefits. But is there a type of customer in terms of growth? Like, would they be having to go through a stage of growth for this to be applicable, or is it actually quite a lot of customers that are quite stable with the solution? Where does it generally fit for those, or does it cover both?
It's both. I mean, it's very broad, right? And if we're going to be general, like mainly B2C, like where you have a lot of customers, but we have lots of B2B customers as well, where a single interaction can be worth so much money. Like that, it's obviously also very important. Retail is very big. Travel and aviation, gambling, gaming. The list really goes on and on. To be honest, so. I would say that high growth is often like an inflection point because that's when the pains really become more apparent and the teams really start to strain trying to use kind of like manual processes. But yeah, it's broad.
I suppose for that reason, anybody who's been watching Zendesk over the last 12 months, let's say, but probably a little bit longer, I probably noticed they've been heavily investing in quality management solutions and workforce management solutions to put into their platform, their CX platform. But for those that may be watching this or listening to this that don't know, are you able to give them a bit of a view as to how this fits within Zendesk's platform profile and its offering as a suite of products?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so it's been like in the last year, Zendesk has moved very quickly to build out this kind of best-in-class WEM offering. So they first acquired TimeShift, which was the WFM, which is now the WFM offering. Klaus came a few months later, which is the QA. And actually, recently they acquired Ultimate, which is an AI agent solution as well. And there's going to be more to come in this space. So, WEM as a category, there's some other bits and pieces and solutions in there that we're building out as well. So it's really, been very rapid. And, even before Klaus, now Zendesk QA was acquired, like Zendesk was our closest partner with the most mutual clients. So it's a very kind of natural fit. But now, like these solutions are native and built in, it opens up all these opportunities. Like obviously, having everything in one place is really valuable because at a click of a button, you're pulling through all of your Zendesk groups and everything just works right away. It also means you've aggregated data, like single dashboards and better decision making kind of coming from one platform. But it also opens up a lot of opportunities for like deeper integrations. Before the acquisition, we were integrating with a lot of different help desks, but now we can go deep with one and start thinking about like real-time quality assurance. We're looking at stuff like automatic coaching as well, so we can already see where people's kind of individuals need to improve, and to be able to assign them a coaching session automatically. Or something we're looking at as well as connecting QA and WFM closer together. This is in the roadmap. So what we're calling skill-based forecasting. So if you see the QA scores of different individuals and you can see, okay, this person isn't that confident in answering questions about shipping and packaging or something like that. With the WFM, we can then pull them off of those types of queries, or and then automatically give them training and put them back on when that's complete. So we have everything communicating with each other is going to be immensely powerful.
I think it's probably fair to say then the future's pretty bright in this area. As you mentioned, it's only been 12 months really that it's been heavily invested in from a functional perspective. I'm sure conversations were and coordination was happening a lot longer than that, but it's certainly one to keep an eye on. And really we use today just to give an intro to those that are viewing to the subject. As you mentioned, it's fairly new anyway. So the concept of workforce engagement management and quality management for that as well. It's just an intro moment for now. So thank you very much, Bob, for your help. I think in terms of next steps, if anybody has any questions, please reach out to myself or Bob via LinkedIn or to Reg K directly. We're more than happy to, certainly I'll put myself forward to happy to jump on a call. I'm sure Bob will be too.
Same here, absolutely.
I think sometimes like to see people like to see the products, like to see what it can do as well. But it's been a really helpful introduction. So please don't hesitate to contact us if you've got any more questions at all. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much again, Bob. And we'll see the rest of you next time for another Red K Live.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much.